Well, here we have our propaganda by the left-leaning Yahoo News. Hostile school board meetings have members calling it quits. I'm sure we all have seen the videos of parents serious questioning of CRT, masks, vaccines, and more. And a lot of these school boards are acting like dictators. But here we have the Yahoo News, Carolyn Thompson, defending the school boards because they have to be defended because they are pushing what the far left wants. And we'll just go through this here real quick. A Nevada school board member said he had thoughts of suicide before stepping down amid threats and harassment. In Virginia, a board member resigned over what she saw as politics driving decisions on masks. The vitriol at board meetings in Wisconsin had one member fearing he would find his tires slashed. And all of this right here, these are by board members who are acting like tyrants, pushing their own opinions as well. Now, this is what this article, pure propaganda right here. Very much, very heavily one-sided. School board members are largely unpaid volunteers. Here we're going for the sympathy part right here. Traditionally former educators and parents who step forward to shape school policy, choose a superintendent, and review the budget. But a growing number are resigning or questioning their willingness to serve as meetings have devolved into shouting contests between deeply political constituents over how racial issues are taught, masks in school, and COVID vaccines and testing requirements. Notice they don't use CRT because that's the real issue right here with the racial issues, CRT. And yeah, they've devolved into shouting matches because the board members aren't listening. They truly think that they're above listening to it. And now board members said work has become toxic and impossible to do. When I got on, I knew it would be difficult, Grothus, a retired educator, said by phone. But I wasn't ready or prepared for the vitriolic response that would occur, especially now that the pandemic seems to just bring everything out in a very, very harsh way. It made it impossible to really do any kind of meaningful work. You're not doing any meaningful work because you're the one pushing things as well. This person right there doesn't understand that these educators are also pushing things. He resigned August 15th along with two other members and one wondered if his car and windshield would be intact after the meetings. Apparently they were, because they weren't going against Antifa and BLM. The National School Boards Association's interim executive director, Chip Slavin, said there isn't evidence of widespread departures, but he and several board members reached by the Associated Press said the charged political climate that has seeped from the national stage into their meetings has made a difficult job even more challenging, if not impossible. That's because you're not listening. You don't want to listen. You want to push your agenda. And that's what people realize. In Vail, Arizona, speakers at a recent meeting took turns blasting school board members over masks, vaccines, and discussions of race in school. Again, no CRT mentioned, even though the board had no plans to act on or even discuss any of these right there. That's the problem. They don't want to discuss these issues. They're acting like a dictator. No, it's our way because we are the only ones who know anything. And because of it, parents are upset because they're not listening. Now right here, it's my constitutional right to be as mean as I want to you guys. Yeah, well, maybe if you listened and actually did more. The board moved on after more than an hour, only to be interrupted by more shouting. Board member Allison Pratt recalled thinking that if she weren't already on the board, she wouldn't aspire to be. There was starting to be an inherent distrust for school board. I wonder why. Could be that they're acting like tyrants? that there's some notion that we are out to indoctrinate children and or to undermine parents or things like that when we are on the same team. Then why aren't you listening? No, they say we are here to help the children. No, you're not. This is the problem. This is what they're so thinking that their way is the only way. I like this part now. Pratt says she strives to view issues from the perspective of even the most extreme members of the community. No, she doesn't. She does not. She has already said up here she does not. She's already dismissed anybody with a different opinion. Police have been called to intervene in places like Val, where parents protesting a mask mandate pushed their way into a room board in April. And in Mesa County, Colorado, where Doug Leviathan was among school board members escorted to their cars by officers who had been unable to de-escalate a rancorous August 17th meeting. Why am I doing this? He asked himself. Kurt Thingpid wrote in leaving the Washoe County, Nevada School Board that he considered suicide amid relentless bullying and threats led by people who didn't live in the county. I like this part. Let alone have children in the schools. If you don't have children, you have no vote. You've got no opinion. If that's just the way they are. If you don't have kids, you might as well shut up and sit down in the corner and not say anything. Susan Crenshaw resigned from a Craig County, Virginia school board this month with more than a year left in her term after being blindsided, she said, by her board's decision to defy the state mask mandate in a move that she felt was more driven by political education considerations. Sorry, the mask mandate, I'm for masks, but the mask mandate is political. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's political. Both sides are doing politics on this. So the reason she shouldn't have been blindsided at all. This is a sign that's come into play against government overreach and tyranny, and other things that have absolutely nothing to do with the education of children. Then why are you doing mask mandates if that's not for education? It's a bigger issue than the mask. I just feel the mask is the spark of a trigger that got this dialogue started. That means something's going on, and you weren't listening. You were not listening because you were so full of yourself that you didn't want to see it. And here we're going on to COVID and masks right here in this part. While experts say the widespread use of masks can effectively limit virus transmissions in school buildings, opponents say they restrict breathing and the ability of children to read social cues. Conflicts over masks have put some boards in Florida, Arizona, Texas at odds with their Republican governors. I will say one thing about masks. I've read many things. Seeing a person's face, just a smile on a bad day can drastically improve somebody's mood. That's been proven. Babies, children, they need that face to really getting social cues. That is a thing, and the mass people don't want to hear it. Of course, at the same time, now you got a lot of places in Europe that aren't doing it. So, are we being overboard on it? Several states, embattled board members who did not resign are facing recall efforts. Ballotpedia lists 59 school board recall efforts against 147 school board members in 2021. Vail Board President John Atkin is among them, targeted by critics who say the mental and physical health of students has declined under pandemic restrictions. The Arizona School Board faces contentious issues in recent years, including the Red for Ed movement 3 years ago when 50,000 people rallied at the state capitol for increased education funding. But he said this is different. That was a very real issue with legitimate concerns on both sides, Atkins said. Much of what is said today is simply false or made up. He said, even so, Slavin said many sitting on the board are more enthusiastic than ever because of their work amid a public health crisis has taken on new importance. You actually now know that what you do is important. The decisions you make as an elected official have ramifications. He completely dismissed the fact that there may be mental or physical health of students declining under the pandemic. He completely dismisses that. It's not a real issue to him. And now this is the problem with these school board members. And this entire piece, very much a propaganda piece, against parents, against those who, even if you just want a discussion, this is really a terrible piece. So much propaganda in it. But yet, this is mainstream stuff that people who don't look beyond what they get will read and they'll go, oh, I didn't know all this. They don't question it. Yeah, let me know what you think. What do you think about propaganda? Have you seen people talking, pushback, all that type of stuff? And I think part of this is the fact that they've gone without pushback for years, and suddenly they're getting pushback, and they don't know how to deal with it. That they literally don't know how to deal with it because they've gotten their way for so long. Yeah, that's my thought. I'm grade 7. Come on over to Rumble. Watch me on over there. It's a much better platform than YouTube. And I'll see you next video.